Hey guys, welcome back. So today I want to talk to you about a new pistol to the US market from B&T, but before we get started on that pistol, let's take a stroll down memory lane and talk about a gun from the 90s. The Tech 9 is a pistol from the past that probably most of you who watch this channel will recognize. Back in the 90s, this was a very affordable gun. It became somewhat demonized by the media because of criminals that used them in high-profile cases. The idiots at Columbine, for example, used Tech 9s or some variation thereof. And so they became somewhat demonized, but, you know, and they were associated with drug dealers and bad guys, whatnot. They kind of got a bad rap. But when states went around doing their own individual assault weapons ban, many of them actually named the Tech 9 specifically. They didn't want them being sold in their states. But the Tech 9 dates back to a submachine gun known as the KG9. The Tech 9 is a semi-automatic version of the KG9 and fires from a closed bolt, where the KG9 obviously fired from an open bolt. But this gun's no longer available. Affordable, mostly reliable. I think the weakest point in the gun's design would have been the rather cheap magazines. This is the magazine that it uses. So the guns could have problems. This one I have runs flawlessly and is surprisingly accurate. But yeah, affordable guns from the 90s are no longer available. Now let's step forward in time a little bit. 9mm sub guns, let's call them sub-caliber guns, have started to flow into the country. People are making them domestically. You know, the 9mm carbine is kind of in vogue. It's back in style, and people are wanting to see them. With regards to imports, it's much easier to get a handgun into the country than it is a rifle. Therefore, countries overseas are importing sub-caliber guns, sub-caliber carbines as pistols, sans the stock, like this B&T APC9. Now, this is probably one of the highest quality 9mm carbines I've ever seen. Now, I'm calling it a carbine because it is now an SBR, but as it was imported, it was just a pistol and looks something like this. I form-1'd it, turned it into a rifle, and put it back into its true shape. So these 9mm pistols, which are really carbines missing their stocks, have become quite popular. Even SIG, for example, is manufacturing the MPX. Take the Scorpion Evo, another gun coming in as a pistol, and you know, either being sold as with a brace, or people are SBRing them as I have. B&T is one of those companies that is known the world over for extremely high quality products. Again, I think this is probably the highest quality sub-caliber carbine I've ever seen. Some could argue it's over-engineered, but let's just say that the Swiss don't make low-quality stuff, and B&T certainly doesn't. So why did I talk about the Tech 9 when opening this video? Well, that's because a lot of people like the APC9, but they can't afford it. The gun's very expensive. It's in the $2,000 range. B&T also manufactures the P26, and that's what I'm holding here. This is a 9mm caliber pistol, but it was originally designed to be a submachine gun or a pistol calibered carbine. You can see the facilities here for a stock, and it's the same stock that is used on their TP9, which you've seen featured here on the channel before. This gun is very similar in design to the Tech 9. I jokingly say it's a Swiss-made Tech 9. Very similar design. It disassembles very much the same. You even have to screw the rear end cap off. We'll talk about disassembly here in a few minutes. But the difference is that B&T makes extremely high quality stuff, and this P26 is another example of that. Now, this gun comes to market at around $1,249. Copper Custom now has them in stock for $1,249. So it's literally half the price, or almost half the price, of the APC9. The P26 uses the same magazines, which I have one here, as the APC9 and the TP9, which are also B&T products, obviously. So the magazines are available through places like hkparts.net, or we even get them in at Copper every once in a while. So the magazines are readily available. I won't say they're cheap or affordable. They're about 50 bucks a pop, but you can get them. They're not hard to come by. They're not like MPX magazines, which are scarce as hen's teeth. And this little gun is just a pleasure to shoot. So what we're going to do this afternoon is take a closer look at this new product on the US market, the P26 from B&T, and talk about some of the features, break it down, show its heritage to the Tech 9, and basically have some fun with it. So let's head over to the range and do a little bit of shooting. The P26 has a full suite of features. So let's just start off at the muzzle end of the gun and work our way back. Here on the muzzle, we have a knurled thread protector from the factory. That's because there's a 1/2x28 thread underneath it. And then right behind that, we have a tri-lug. Now, even my APC9, the more expensive model, doesn't have both options. My APC9 just has a tri-lug adapter. Moving back, we have a polymer encased steel tube upper, which you can see right here. And on top of that, we have rather minimalistic pistol sights. And just following that back down the pic rail, you can see the rear sight here, which is also polymer. Kind of like the APC9. These things aren't, you know, made out of steel. Wouldn't say that they're all that rugged. The gun's definitely set up to be used with something like a red dot sight, which is what I'll ultimately wind up putting on the gun. Up here in front, we have Pic Rails all the way around. So we have the monolithic rail that runs the full length of the gun that I showed you a second ago. We have Pic Rails on both sides of the receiver and on the bottom. Now, this is considered a handgun, guys, so you cannot put a vertical grip on it unless you register it as any other weapon or as an SBR. But if you do SBR it, moving to the rear of the gun, the facilities are already here for what looks to be a TP9 stock, which again you can pick up from hkparts.net. Now, coming back here, we have the ejection port on the right-hand side and the charging handle on the left-hand side. It is a reciprocating non-ambi charging handle. Okay, but other components of the gun are ambi, such as the magazine release, which I have right here. You push the button on the right-hand side. You can also push it on the left-hand side. All right, and same is true for the fire controls. You can see I'm moving it from fire to safe and back again from the left-hand side of the gun. I also have that capability from the right-hand side of the gun because the fire controls are present on both sides. Lower is all polymer, but it's a very hard, durable polymer. I found out just how durable the polymer is by trying to laser engrave this type of polymer before. It's very hard for even a laser to burn into. It's a very high temp polymer, very high quality polymer. All right, so the guns fire from 30 round magazines. I only have 25 rounds loaded, but this is what the B&T magazine looks like. We're shooting some Federal white box range ammunition. To load the gun, you insert the magazine into the gun, charge the weapon with the charging handle, and the gun will lock open on the last shot fired. I don't know if I said earlier if it did or didn't, but the gun does actually lock open on the last shot fired. All right, so downrange we have a challenge steel target. We'll see if the sights are on right out of the box with this little guy. I'm gonna shoot it one-handed with my support hand, just like I would a normal pistol, and we're probably about 50 yards or so from that steel target. The recoil impulse is just like a Tech 9. It seems a little bit brisk for a 9mm. That's why I looked at the ejection port. I couldn't tell. It felt like it almost locked open, but it didn't. Recoil is very manageable, and actually the trigger is pretty darn nice. All right, I could definitely tell when it locked open. Didn't miss a single shot. You can see the bolts locked open. Now there is no bolt release on the gun. All right, so to make it ready again, drop the magazine out and then put a fresh magazine in, grab the charging handle, cycle it and chamber around. All right, that was fun, but there was no suppressor involved. That's not fun. Fun is suppression. And if you guys follow the channel, you know that I like to suppress everything. I've brought two suppressors out here with me today. Both of them are Griffin Armament. One of them has the tri-lug adapter on it, which is this one, Revolution 9 can. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that my muzzle nut's on tight. All right, and you'll notice it slides right over that knurled knob, right down to the tri-lug, and locks right into place. All right, so now it's suppressed. I'm going to go actually load up some subsonic ammunition, some Freedom Munitions Hush, take my ears off and see just how quiet this little guy is suppressed. So the ears are off, and I'm using some Freedom Munitions, and this is the 165 grain 9mm Hush ammo. And I really enjoy shooting this stuff because it is extremely quiet in 9mm. All right, so here's what it looks like. It's just a round nose ball round. It looks like they're loading it into Starline brass. Go ahead and leave my ears off. I'm going to go ahead and make the P26 ready, put a full magazine in it, grab the charging handle, pull it to the rear, make sure that it's on fire, and we'll shoot at that same steel target downrange with the Revolution 9 suppressor on using the tri-lug adapter. Oh my gosh, guys. That is like Hollywood quiet. I don't know what the shotgun mic's picking up, but zero recoil because of the added weight on the end of the barrel. And it's almost like you can hear the bullet in flight. I'm going to shoot past the steel plate. I know a lot of you guys always say, quit shooting steel with suppressors because you can't hear how quiet the gun is. So I'm going to shoot to the left of the steel plate this time so you guys can get an idea of just how quiet this thing is. You probably heard that pop. That pop was a bullet hitting the dirt downrange, and then you're probably hearing the brass hitting the bridge over troubled water here at my feet. Oh, guys, I love this stuff, man. There is a reason why suppressors are so much fun, and this is it. I'm going to go back to shooting the steel plate. Hopefully you guys got a good sampling of what it sounds like when I'm not shooting steel, but I just love shooting these challenge steel targets. I mean, seriously, guys, the bullet hitting the steel plate is louder than the gunshot. And the point of shift from the suppressor being on the gun, or the point of impact from the point of aim, doesn't seem to have shifted, I should say. It's still hitting that steel gong down there at 50 yards. That's pretty darn impressive. So 100% function with the Hush ammunition. I'm going to wait a minute and let this can cool off. I'm going to take off the suppressor that's attached via tri-lug. I'm going to go ahead and then show you how it works with another suppressor, another Rev 9 that I have in the K configuration. So I've taken this spacer out of the baffle stack, and I'm using the little miniature version of it, which is direct thread. All right, let's let the can cool off so I can get a hold of it, load up another magazine, and have some more fun. Field stripping the P26 is super simple. First, you're going to drop the magazine out of the gun, check the chamber, and make sure that the gun is empty. Just like the Tech 9, you have a push pin here in the front. You push it through, draw it out the other way. It's a captive pin. And now the front, the top half and the lower half will separate simply by pushing forward. You can see kind of how they lock in there in the front and rear. So I'm just going to kind of push the two apart like that. And once you pull them apart, the two halves just separate like this. Now inside, you can see the fire control. It's all polymer, nicely made. On this side, you can see the barrel and then the bolt assembly. Now, on the rear, this is just like a Tech 9. All right, so you're gonna basically unscrew this cap. I think you got a little, yeah, there we go. Couldn't remember if I had to push that little button or not. Now this is under spring pressure. You're gonna unscrew this, and there's two little recoil springs inside there. Actually, I don't think it's gonna pop off. Very little spring pressure. So then your cap comes off, and inside you're going to have your guide rod for your two recoil springs, which you can now see inside there. You can just draw your bolt to the rear. Again, there you can see your recoil springs. And then there's a little takedown notch right here on the side, just like a Tech 9. You're just going to pull this pin out. and now you can draw a bolt right out the rear. And of course your recoil springs just come right out. So that's it. Very simple disassembly. Now you can see straight through, clean your barrel, all that good stuff. And again, it's almost identical in design and concept to the Tech 9. The can wasn't all that hot, so we didn't have to let it cool off all that much. So I'm going to show you the process for taking the Tri-Lug suppressor off. You just grab it. The weapon is empty, okay, no magazine inserted. Grab it. You sometimes have to get a hold of the end of it to push down hard enough. You're pushing down against the spring and then pull, and it'll come right apart. Very, very fast detachment. Now, you also don't have to worry about, the reason Tri-Lug is so cool, you don't have to worry about the suppressor backing off while you're shooting the gun. Now I'm going to unscrew the knurled thread protector to expose the 1/2x28 threads. All right, so now you can see those on the gun. Now I'm going to take my K configuration, Rev 9 from Griffin Armament, and set that on the threads, screw that down. Notice how much slower this process is. But most handguns, you're going to want to use direct threads because you're using a booster. I'm not using a booster, obviously, on this gun because it is a fixed barrel. Okay, it's nice and snug. You'll notice that the suppressor, again, is just a bit shorter because of its configuration. All right. And let's see how quiet this is. Almost dropped that can in the drink there. All right. With the Hush subsonics, once again, no ears. To let the bolt go home, I'm just going to grab the charging handle and release it. All right, here we go again. Just as quiet, guys. I'll go ahead and shoot into the dirt so you guys can hear it. So you're probably hearing the bullet hitting the dirt again down there and the brass bouncing across the bridge over troubled water here. Super, super quiet. All right, I'm going to finish out the magazine on the Challenge Steel target. Oops. And again, 100% reliability, dead silent, and that's pretty cool. Look at how small that little package is. Yeah, that's definitely a lot of fun. Well, guys, it's raining on me, so I'm going to have to get out of here this afternoon. I hope you enjoyed taking a look at the B&T P26, which is a really neat little 9mm pistol, which is an easy conversion to an SBR with the side folding stock that you can order from hkparts.net after you file your Form 1, pay your tax, and get it approved. The more we shoot this little thing, the more impressed we are with it. And I will say at this point, I would prefer this over the SIG MPX. It's roughly the same price point. I think the quality is there. We're really impressed with how this thing shoots suppressed. And again, they're available at Copper for $12.49, so the price isn't horrible. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you enjoyed coming out to the range with me. Of course, if you want to support the Military Arms channel, you can swing by and check out Copper Custom. Also, please be sure to check out full30.com. That's full30.com. We've taken all the web's best firearms content creators and brought them under one roof. And that is full30.com, and that rain is really starting to come down, guys. So I want to fire off a few rounds, get Peaches loaded up, and get out of here.